Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher GP Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the flow of enlightenment. Transformation is all there is. Welcome, everyone, to the flow of enlightenment. I'm here with me, Lisa Berry, but not more importantly, but equally importantly, Master Spiritual Teacher GP Walsh.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello. You know, it was funny, that music, I listen to your beautiful music every time we come on, but today it felt like a real, and what's on today's soap opera? It was
Spiritual soaps. I love it.
Oh, hey, does that exist? I like that. That's funny.
It does now.
Oh, it does now. All right. Oh, tune in.
Tune in next week, for the
I love
ongoing
that.
Adventures, yes.
Yes. Well, today is such an interesting one. We, listeners, GP and I have these fun little conversations throughout the week, and things kind of show up. And and I was not being cheeky, by the way. I just was saying it lightheartedly. And in our conversations, this kind of question came up, and I said, the kingdom of heaven, is that even still a thing? And with which wonderful heart that you do have, GP. You really brought that into perspective about what the kingdom of heaven was. I actually had not thought about it, so I'm really happy today to be doing this show on what the kingdom of heaven is. Yes, it's still a thing, everybody. I'm going to just spoil alert there.
We're going to answer the question up front.
Yes, because sometimes it's not about the answer, right? It's about the details. Well, I don't even know if that's true. You're making me question, in a good way.
That's my job.
Yes, but if we could, let's begin, because we have some fun news to share with everybody. We have somebody who has joined in partnership with us, who we feel has this, whether you're going to the kingdom of heaven or you're going around the corner and taking a walk through the autumn leaves. I mean, you're a tourist in this world. And I will take this quick, wonderful moment to really thank and talk about our beautiful new sponsor. It is a sponsor, but it's a partner. And this is a beautiful new business that has begun in this time, especially High Rise Tourism. And as we're speaking about heaven, I mean, hey, come on, it's like the perfect.
Take it higher now.
Yes. There you go. Oh gosh, I love this. And it's high-rise tourism. And what high-rise tourism really can do is can help you live and embrace life to the fullest by constantly constructing personal high-rises within your spiritual, physical, and mental destinations. And Suzanne is the creator, the founder of this company, and she loves talking about every kind of place from cozy, quaint family vacations to nature weekend getaways to afternoon teas. And high-rise tourism is a complementing partner in giving good directions to places where wisdom meets earthiness. And that's what we like to do here on the Flow of Enlightenment. And that's to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. I love this little quote here. Travel far enough, you meet yourself. That's by David Mitchell. And, high-rise tourism is really, it's more than wandering. We're going places. So, GP, we're so happy to have Suzanne as a sponsor.
Oh, it's so delightful. It makes such a difference for us to have people supporting us and the like. It's such a help, and we do choose the people who sponsor us. We're not going
Yes.
to be we're not going to be being sponsored by Exxon or Monsanto anytime soon.
Ooh. You just went to hell there, didn't you? You just went from heaven to hell. GP.
That's right. We just sank down into the gutter. So this is completely GMO-free tourism. Yeah.
I love that. Well, speaking of tourism, and this is a part here too, we're bringing this back to the kingdom of heaven. Is that still a thing? I'm going to break into this. What was the first? Because I hopefully got the same answer when I said, "Well, like, what is the kingdom of heaven?" And you put it into such a perspective. So I'm going to have you start there. Where is the kingdom of heaven? How do we get there?
Well, it's fascinating, really, because for the longest time in the West, remember the whole kingdom of heaven thing is a Western concept. It doesn't exist in the East. It doesn't exist in Asia or India and the like. It is a product of the Abrahamic religions, which is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And it became a place, an actual physical place out there somewhere that you would go when you died. Of course, there was an alternative. There was another place you could go as well. But the kingdom of heaven was this place where you were going to be with God and see God and all of that. And that really was what people thought. For a long time, there were I think there were 7 concentric crystal spheres surrounding the earth. And, the angels were on one sphere and stars were on another. And and then, of course, sitting outside was God. So it was just this very literal, physical place. And, of course, the explanations of it were based on the culture. Right? It was, streets paved with gold, or everybody gets a mansion, or whatever, whatever it is. So, it was this beautiful thing for you to project on your idea of the idyllic perfect state, the perfect state of happiness and immortality. And how would you be like to live for eternity? Christ himself, even though he was attributed to having that same kind of view, said quite clearly that wasn't true. That there was no place out there. And, since Galileo and the telescopes got even more, people started looking and they didn't find it. And it really kind of culminated in 1968 with that first picture from the moon, the Apollo landing of the Earth rising on the moon, and to just see it sitting in the midst of this blackness. Joseph Campbell actually said that was just one of the biggest cultural shifts, metaphoric shifts of all time, because it's the first time we ever actually sat somewhere else and looked back on us, and there was this tiny, fragile little blue ball in the midst of this endless blackness, and not a kingdom to be found.
Yes.
So where is the kingdom? If it is a thing, right? Where is the kingdom? Well, the Native Americans have recognized 7 directions. There's, of course, the normal 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. But they also recognize up as the sky, down as the earth, and in as the 7th direction.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Oh.
So they actually see it as a different dimension, and that's exactly what Christ said. He said, look, the kingdom of heaven does not come through observation. Don't say, oh, there it is, or here it is.
Right.
Because the kingdom of heaven is within you. And of course, that means the kingdom of God is within you. This is the dwelling place of God. It means that the Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum, the true temple is in you. Mm-hmm. But so now, how do you find it? Right? That's the question.
Because if it isn't a place, how do you find something that isn't a place?
Yeah. Yes, exactly so.
Yeah. You're like, hey, you not go there. Yes, go there, but it's not a place, so you can't. Wait, this is a riddle.
It is a koan. It is a mysterious riddle. How do you go place that is within.
Right.
Well, you can't. It's like asking if I was to ask you to get up and walk over to yourself.
Right.
You can't do it, right? And so what we're dealing with is not trying to find it, because it's you. It's losing our concept of it as being something out there. Mm-hmm. And this is very practical, right? When I'm talking about the kingdom of heaven, I'm not talking about, it's Red Seas parting and angels singing and things like that. What I'm talking about is whatever you regard as being the source and substance of your happiness, your contentment, your abundance, your peace, whatever it is that you think is responsible for your happiness, that's heaven. That's your heaven. That's you projected your happiness onto something.
Right.
As Christ also put it, he said, lay not up your treasure on earth, where moth and dust corrupts and people break through and steal it. Lay it up in heaven, where that doesn't happen. It's because where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Mm. And in those words, which you just said about, because today's election day, and I had to bring that up. But putting your heaven out there, I wanted to just in the show description, because I was really happy that I found this. To be honest, I've been finding some really good talk about treasures, some gems and jewels and treasures and stars. But Jim Marions, I found this fella, said it's not a but a place you come from. And a lot of us will say, like for me, I have a lot of forgiveness, because I always say, well, it's where your intention, it's where you're coming from. It may be a crappy action you took. However, you were coming from your heaven, right? You're coming from your heaven. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second, because if we are projecting our heaven, now our heavens are all different, right? Like my heaven's going to look different than yours.
Oh, yeah.
But we still can't judge it, though, because we're not, that's ego.
Yes. Yeah, heaven would have to be varied. I mean, one person's heaven is another person's hell.
Yes. Oh, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, some of these guys, some of these TV preachers talking about heaven, if I had to spend eternity with them, that would be hell.
Yes.
Could you imagine, listening to Pat Robertson forever?
Forever. Eternal happiness. Oh, so tears of joy, aren't they? No. Oh, and that is so true. I think the word projection has really caught me, because earlier today I was, I'm in PR, and somebody pitched an idea to me, and I thought, ooh, that would not be something. But I'm loving the passion from this person. I think other people would need this and like this. So when we all have different heavens, on earth, are we able to truly live in our heaven on earth if we've got all these other heaven on earths kind of like, creeping in on ours? How can we?
No, not from the ego. You can't, because the ego will just be arguing that its version is the right version. That's what the wars are all around the world. Well, they're mostly about greed.
Yeah. I want that paved gold.
Yeah, just justified in terms of these various kinds of philosophical things. But while the content of heaven is different for all of us, and heaven is simply whatever I think makes me happy, right? The actual substance of heaven is identical. It's the self.
The self.
The
Self
St.
is the
Francis
substance.
of Assisi, my favorite quote, many people have heard me quote this, he said, what you are looking for is where you are looking from.
Yes.
Whenever we take happiness and project it onto anything, a person, a place, a thing, an accomplishment, an attainment, an acquisition, a state, a peak experience, whenever we project it onto that, you have projected your heaven outward, and then you've made it subject on the ups and downs of life. Transformation is all there is, right?
Yes.
It never sits still. The peak experience will be followed by a valley. There's just no way for that to not happen. So
Okay.
that's heaven represents that happiness that doesn't come and go. Which means it cannot be anything in this world. It cannot be any kind of condition or circumstance or anything of that sort. Because all of those things shift and change.
Okay.
There's only one thing that doesn't shift and change, and that's you.
Okay, that almost, I think, answered the one. I was like, oh boy, we got a minute for commercial. Dare I ask this question? But you actually answered it, I think. And that was, I was going to say, wait a second. If transformation is all there is, does the self ever transform? But I think you just answered it and said, it actually doesn't come and go. The self is always the same.
It doesn't. You can think of it in terms like space, right? A galaxy can explode in space, but space remains untouched. It doesn't even leave a trace.
Right.
There has to be a constant, unchanging background, or nothing could happen at all.
Wow. Okay, let's go to commercial on that, because I know when we come back, I've got a lot of questions now more about, well, what is transforming? What is the furniture? The furniture in our house, our heaven here is shifting around. So everybody, when we come back, and we're going to open the lines up for questions as well. So come on back after the commercial. We'll continue here on the Flow of Enlightenment with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes. Co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
I'm Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Oh, this is us. We are back. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
That's our cue.
That's our cue. I love that. There you go. And it's also the cue for any listeners right now who are live with us. We love being live. We're here Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Any of you on the replay. We love for you to call in. And this is an opportunity to ask any question about, self-inquiry. GP, you're just fabulous at finding where people are. Even if you guys are listening, you're like, I don't know. I just know I want to be there. I ask a question, but I don't know what it is. Even if you're kind of fumbling, that's okay. Listen to me. I fumble all the time when we're going through this show. but if you do know that you were looking for just some support, some guidance, somewhere to start, then we are inviting you to call in. And the number to call is 202-570-7057, and we're here every week. And you can also email us. And GP, you're gonna just smack me here. I cannot remember our questions or answers. Our email address.
Questions at gpwalsh.com. Where do you send a question? To questions
Yes, that makes so much sense. See, the easier it is, the harder. Yes, questions with an S at gpwalsh.com. And yes, certainly inviting that. I want to jump back into the transmission, because then eventually, and I'm just going to share with the listeners, kind of give them the lowdown here, we are going to be talking about the king and the kingdom. And I like how there's an OM in kingdom, so OM. But, but when we just left off with saying that, yes, there needs to be a backdrop of something that can transform in front of it, kind of, so to speak. The self never. So what the heck is transforming? Why, if we are always the same, then what's the point?
Well, boy.
Yes. We can break that one down a little.
Yeah, because, boy, it can go very, very deep. I'll just throw this out here, and then I won't say anything more about it. Ultimately, nothing is transforming. So let's just leave that on the side, because that's going to go right by everyone.
Yeah.
Look at it kind of like, in physics, there's something fundamental, right? There's an energy field or something that is constantly taking form. Mm-hmm. I mean, the cells in your body are simply the appearance of a bunch of molecules that happen to be dancing together in a particular way. And at this point of perception, where we sit with the human mind, it appears as a cell. And then all those cells together appear as a body. So which one is actually the actual one? And what is an appearance of something else? The molecules are an appearance of a collection of atoms. The atoms are appearance of a collection of things even smaller. And no matter what level you look at, what you see is constant transformation, constant turnover. In the time it took me to say that sentence, you had a couple million cells in your body die and a couple million new ones born. Yes. It never sits still. Nothing does. That's why we call it the flow, because it's only our minds that take a picture of something and then think the thing is actually static. It's not. It's always in motion. There's never a time when it stops. It appears to our senses as if it is a thing that has that is frozen in time for a second, but there never is such a thing. Nothing, no matter how solid it is. El Capitan, a solid piece of granite in Yosemite Valley, is made up of these little tiny things that are spinning quite quickly. Right? Oh. It isn't solid. It's 99% empty. More than that. It's empty space. Right? So what is it that's actually transformed? This is the question science has been struggling with for thousands of years.
And I ask you, oh gosh.
Yeah. And that is, what actually is? This is an appearance of that, that's an appearance of that, that's an appearance. There's got to be something that's actually there, right?
Yeah.
There can't be nothing but appearances. There's got to be something that actually isn't an appearance of something else. It's what is.
Yes.
And science has been looking for that. They've yet to find it. They thought they came close a couple of times. That's why they build linear accelerators and all sorts of things. But what is? Well, you. The one thing materialistic science cannot fathom is that which is looking for that which is the thing that is.
Yes.
Consciousness is what is. Consciousness is the substance of the universe. So what's transforming? Well, this is the mystery. How can something be transforming and absolutely still at the same time? The mind cannot fathom this, but this is the nature of consciousness. You can think of consciousness in its essential nature, which is the utter stillness, pure stillness, unmoving, unchanging, self-existent, self-luminous. But there's another aspect to it, which is dynamic, which is never sitting still, which is never for one moment the same. This is the mystery of true non-duality. They're not two.
Is it almost like an oxymoron to say the dynamic self?
Yeah, well, kind of. Here's a good metaphor for it, right? Try to tell me what music is without humming a tune.
Right.
You can't do it.
You say sound, words and sounds, and you go,
No, you hum a tune.
Right.
Right. Now, is that tune all there is to music? Oh, that tune, that's music. Well, no, not that. It's also this, and this. Oh, okay. So all of the no, actually, there's a bunch more. Okay, well, this is no, because actually we can make more. What do you mean you can make more? So it's the relationship between music and a song. Music cannot be captured. You cannot define it, and yet it's here. It is the potential for all songs, right? And yet in every single song, you see the entirety of music is presented in front of you. This is this very subtle relationship between the essence and its dynamic expression.
And is that essence
the nature
shared?
of being. Isn't that wonderful? Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's the kingdom of heaven, because it is the essence of all of us. The manifestation is quite different, you know.
Yeah.
Between a squirrel and a tree and a person and a cathedral and a cow, the manifestation is is stunningly different. I mean, there's no limit on the variation on it.
Yes.
But it's all the same. It's the same essence. We literally are one being.
And that brings me to that horrible, tricky, but hopefully not tough question.
It's time to play Stump the Guru.
Yes. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, you know what? I like thinking that. Like, oh, you know what? I'm looking at this beautiful tree, which I love, and I'm looking at this cow, which I love, and I'm looking at this person, which I love, and yes, we are all one, and we share the essence. And I look over at that thing I hate, or that person I really disagree with, or that law that it's not working for me that well, and I think, we have the same essence. I don't know about this. How can we wrap our shared essence arms around that?
It must be so. Otherwise, there's two essential things, and then you're going to have eternal conflict. You're going to have a God and devil duking it out forever.
Yeah. Yes. That's the image I get, actually. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You have two completely contradictory, conflicting, self-existent entities. That means chaos and suffering will be the nature of the universe forever.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a bad promise. Nobody wants to marry that.
Yeah. No, but fortunately it's not true. But this is where, if what I'm saying resonates and it feels true to you, don't worry about the rest of the details quite yet.
Okay.
Let yourself bask in the fact that you can sense in your heart that this is true.
Yes.
There's a unity, there's a oneness of it, there's a shared beingness, right? Now, where does the rest of all of this stuff come from? Right? This is a bigger question that we can get to before break.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is really where the rubber meets the road. How do you make something like this extremely practical? What do you do in a world that seems hell bent on driving itself off of a cliff? Well, we have to dig deep. We have to come to truly understand our shared being. At which point, I'm not the least bit intimidated by somebody who is exuding qualities that are completely the opposite. Why? Because I know where they came from. I'm not talking to the consciousness of that person. I'm talking to their conditioning.
Oh.
The conditioned sense of self. But remember, all existence is conditioned, right? Yeah. Energy conditioned makes a thing. The tree is conditioned energy. It's constantly in transforming, right? But it has taken a form, and that form has some pattern integrity that's going to continue for a while. It has a beginning, it has a duration in it, and it has an end. Its essence is the same, but the form it's taking is different. Well, human beings are exactly the same. But it's not just the form of the physical body, it's also the emotional body, and it's also the mental body. It's the sense of identity, it's the conditioning that makes this person that person. Until consciousness dawns, we think I am that person. And therefore my conditioning, I will act out my conditioning, not realizing that I'm acting out conditioning, and that it's not really me. And that conditioning may be great, very successful, and or it may be very kind, or it may be very evil. It may be horrible. It may be narcissistic and selfish beyond imagination, without any capacity for empathy. As long as we do not recognize conditioning as conditioning, we will act that out, and therefore we can be evil, but we won't think we are. In fact, there really isn't anyone evil because no one's choosing it. You don't choose your conditioning.
That's
you don't have a choice until you realize you are conditioned. That's the first sign of freedom.
Oh gosh, this is really good. Okay, so we don't choose our conditioning. I have to put that one down because I was going to ask, and I like that you highlighted that conditioning is neither good nor bad. It can be beautiful traits. You could be conditioned to have lovely traits. You could be yes. So thank you for that. My question is on conditioning: Are we born fresh every time with no conditioning, or can we bring a conditioning from? If those who believe in living, like what do you call them, past lives and being karma and all that good stuff, can conditioning travel with us? Are we backpacking with conditions from life to life, or we start fresh every time?
Yes and no. The body is fresh, the environment is fresh. All of that is fresh. The mind is fresh, and then it will conform. That will conform itself to whatever environment it happens to be born into. Right? If I'm born into a wealthy family, I'll have the attitude and morals of the wealthy. If I'm born into a poor family, I'll have those. It's irrelevant because the same being put into a different environment will become that environment. That's what conditioning is. But yes, in Hinduism they refer to it as the vasanas. In Buddhism they refer to it as the repository consciousness, which are these tendencies that transcend individual lifetimes. The individual lifetime is the moment. It's kind of like the song music is making in that moment, right? And that's temporary. But underneath them are things that perpetuate lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That's what people know of as karma. But
yes,
karma is simply just trends and tendencies. And so the essential vasana is our desire to be somebody, to become, to be a form. That desire manifests a body every single time because it wants to be a form. When that's finally gone, you're a Buddha.
And can you really make it so? If today I decide, I'm done with this form stuff. I don't want to be manifested. I'm Buddha. Do I now stop my next manifestation, of a body?
Well, that is the spiritual journey, and it happens whether you like it or not. Eventually, consciousness wanted to taste. The only way consciousness can taste experience is to turn itself into forms. Right? You have to have the contrast. You have to have the male and female, the up and down, the dark and night.
That's so beautiful.
You have to. That's the nature of experience. Without that, there is no experience. But at a certain point, consciousness says, "Man, I'm really done with this."
Yeah. Can we feel that?
That's the blooming. That's the bud of awakening.
When people do say, I've heard them, and sometimes I wonder if I've maybe said at a time or two that I think I'm done. Can we feel that? Like, that desire to. I've tasted I love that you said that consciousness wanted to taste. Like, as my background as a nutritionist, that's just awesome. But do we sense it when we have just manifested enough that's where we're good?
You wouldn't be talking to me if that hadn't happened, nor would anybody be listening to this show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's already happened. It happens long before we recognize that it happens. Because it is a happening. It's not a choice like anything else. It's a realization. When you realize the truth, you didn't make the truth up, right? The truth in you saw the truth. And it says, I really am done. But now comes the fun part of making the journey back home. This is the path of awakening. This is the path of enlightenment. This is the spiritual journey. At first, the spiritual journey can be mistaken as I'm going to improve my behavior. I'm going to be more calm. I'm going to be right. I'm going to be a better person. It can even take the form of personal development and success techniques and things like that. The whole personal development movement is in fact consciousness saying I'm done, right? But it's still very immature. It hasn't really seen the source of it yet, and so it's still trying to create a better version of a person. It hasn't seen that person doesn't exist. The person is nothing but conditioning.
Yes.
So who am I without the conditioning? Now you're into the realm of pure consciousness. But that's just a nice word, right? How do you actually get in? How do you get to the kingdom of heaven? Right? Which is the pure self. Right?
Yes.
That is God and nothing else.
How to get? We have to do commercial on that one. How to get into the kingdom? It's there. You kind of know where it is now. I know that we said you can't know the place, but we kind of do. So when you guys come back, we are going to talk about how to get into the kingdom of heaven and be the king. Be the king that you are. So please come on back. And any questions, again, really quickly, 202-570-7057. And we'll repeat that when we come back after these commercial breaks.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose. To link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
And that's us. We're back to the
That's
flow.
us.
To the flow.
Yeah, that's right.
Of You're back in the flow, everybody, right? Yes, we just stepped out for a second, and now we're back in. Let's just for a moment, and we'll jump into all our beautiful stuff. We'll jump into that river, into the flow there. Actually, I was talking about the river this morning because learning, being reminded that a river doesn't actually freeze. I'm up here in Canada, and talking about the rivers and how, just water and stuff like that. And I thought, yes, because it's moving. And then you were talking about how things aren't actually frozen and still. I thought, wow, today is really all about that, isn't it?
It is.
And I will take this lovely moment to thank yet again another sponsor that we've had with us from before day one that actually brought us together, brought GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry, together. And funny, yes, I just love this growth here. You know what? Self-mastering and self-development and personal growth, they're all good. They're still fun, and they're still something that you must do. And, that's a part of our lives if we choose it, right? And so I'm going here to thank our lovely sponsor, iAwesome. And iAwesome is for International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery. So we do invite everybody to go to iAwesome.com. And what iAwesome does is they are offering a space for people to connect with the metaphysical concepts in an educational system that's supported by a social and community-based environment. And with encouragement, empowerment, integrity, and love being the foundation of their online setting, they invite you to become a student today for free. Oh, no, I was going to say free up until launch date, but we had one of our launch dates. Hopefully you guys came.
That's right.
But yes, a 21-day trial. We'll call it a trial because you can explore. You know what? GP, our launch, honestly, can we just talk about the launch just for a second? Quickly.
Sure.
That was fun. We got to meet these teachers. We got to hear what people do, and there's a lot of connection. And I think, do we need connection to find the kingdom of heaven?
No. After the kingdom of heaven, you experience true connection. Prior to that, it is just conditioning meeting conditioning.
Ooh.
And, sometimes it'll be harmonious, sometimes it'll be discordant, sometimes it'll be harmonious for a minute or two. A hot romance that ends, go, who the hell is this person? I don't even know them. Because that's just the interaction of conditioning. When you're not conscious, it's simply going to be the compatibility or incompatibility of conditioning because you're not there. And you can't actually even experience intimacy because you're not actually being seen and known and felt.
Oh my gosh. You just answered the whole world's problems.
All in a day's work, yeah. And it's not even lunchtime for me, yeah.
Right. Oh, a condition meeting another condition and recognizing whether it's compatible or incompatible. Now, does any incompatible condition help us to find the kingdom of heaven, or still no?
Well, whenever there's an incompatibility, right, and there always inevitably will be, right, because another word from conditioning is ego. That's what the ego is. It's just conditioned thoughts about myself. Right? That's all it is. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just the habit patterns of thought that revolve around myself, and those habit patterns of thought are conditioning. Right? So the key, the thing that gets us out of conditioning is suffering. When things aren't working, that's when we pay attention. If they're working, if I was living in a perpetual heaven, that is, as the way my conditioning would define heaven to be, everything is exactly the way my ego wants it. If I'm living like that, I'm going to be stuck there. There's at some point that has to collapse, and we start to experience discontent. Now, that can come very naturally, even in the best of conditions. You can have somebody who's achieved all sorts of things, right? Money, fame, wealth, the whole deal, and they're not content. They go, "What's the matter? I've got everything I'm supposed to have. What's the problem?"
Yeah.
Many of us experience that. For many people, they spend their life trying to attain that and never do. And then they're upset with themselves because I never got to be and have what I wanted to be, have and do, and completely missing the point that that's the biggest blessing they could possibly have. Turn within. Right? If I'm not content, I am projecting my happiness outside. I am looking for the kingdom of heaven out there.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
End of story. That's the only place discontent comes from, because the kingdom of heaven within is eternal contentment. That's its nature. I mean, what would heaven be if I wasn't content there? Right?
Yeah.
I'm just hanging around going, geez, I wish I would have brought some magazines.
What magazines would be in heaven?
Yeah. It's like, God, what do I do now? You know? Take up smoking or something? I mean...
I need something to do with my hands.
What the hell do I do now? I mean, what the heaven do I do now? Sorry.
Right? Oh, that's fun. Let's start that one. I love that one. Okay. Well, okay, so I'm turning this practical. This is amazing. I can't believe the timing on this, which I can. This morning, I had someone say to me, sharing with me, and it's fine to share this. They said, gosh, I just don't know what's wrong with me. One day everything will be perfect, and I'll think about how awesome everything is, but then I'll still get angry and lose my temper. But the other day, the next day or something, when everything is going terribly wrong, then I actually laugh at it. Like, why am I never happy and okay? And then, of course, I was thinking about, oh, wait, we're supposed to come from within. It's from where it comes from. And I was like, no, I can't figure this one out either. I'm asking GP. That was one of the questions.
Well, that's conditioning.
It's conditioning.
The ego is never... Ego is another word for dissatisfaction, right? It isn't that there's an ego that is dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is simply the thought patterns that say things should be different than they are.
Yes.
That's it. That's all there is to it. Whatever it is, I'm again it. That's the ego. And it's a function. It's not a thing. It's a functioning. It's simply thought patterns the way they work. And we have to understand that conditioning is a very mechanical, it's a very robotic process. It's like training a dog, right? Yeah. They will do the same thing over and over again. Now, the human nervous system is incredibly sophisticated and complex and detailed. It maps every single possible event that could happen within a given environment and creates a reactive behavior to match it. Mm. And so you can go on a retreat. I call it the Great Retreat Crash. You go on a retreat. It's this beautiful, 3 days with beautiful people. It's a perfectly safe environment. Nothing's being triggered. You have deep insights. You're walking on water. You think this is wonderful. The next morning, Monday morning, you go back. You're yelling at your kids. You're flipping people off on the highway.
Yes.
Why? And you go, oh my God. And then you want to run off to another retreat, read another book and things like that, because there's an ignorance about the process. Mm. But yes, you are in a perfectly safe environment. You didn't get triggered.
Yes.
Now you go back to your regular life, and all of those mechanisms that have been set up to react and respond to your regular life, they get triggered again. Yeah. Now, if there's the true point of a retreat is to see the whole conditioning mechanism, so that when you do go back on Monday after your retreat and you do see the reaction, you recognize that it's a conditioning pattern and it's not you.
Yes.
You don't have to get rid of it. You have to see it for what it is. And that is what diffuses it. It's that seeing. It's that wise seeing. And this, of course, is how we establish the kingdom of heaven. We establish it on earth. Think of earth as being your conditioned patterns and heaven being the insight into your true being. How does heaven come down to earth? It has to eradicate the conditioning.
Yes. So we basically have to say, Earth, it's not you, it's me.
That is we have to clearly discern the difference between the functioning of the human body and nervous system and ourselves as consciousness.
Right.
And the whole mistake is that we've associated ourselves consciousness with the body, mind, nervous system, and functioning and the like. So we think that's me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm forever trying to improve myself by changing this and fixing that. There's nothing wrong with you. except that you have mistaken yourself to be somebody you're not.
You know what, GP, this is reminding me of the game that when you're little and you play a game and you do something and then they go, switch. And then you're supposed to like reverse or flip you left hand to right hand or stand on the different foot,
Yes.
and then you suddenly you drive on one side of the road in one country and you go to the other, and then you just keep, you have to give yourself time to create that. Well, I guess. Here's a question: is transcending or transforming a matter of just learning another program and pattern, or transcending all programming and not having any?
The latter.
Ooh.
Yeah. If it's the former, that is, you're just just basically reprogramming. Well, that's hypnotherapy, NLP, personal development, all the self-help. That's what they do, because they do not ask the question, "Who am I?" They assume that I am this conditioning, and I'm going to create better conditioning.
I'm going to create better conditioning, right?
And that's fine. I mean, who can argue, right? More
Yeah.
functional than less functional. Yeah, it's fine. But it's not who you are, and it too will have its downside. I'm going to create this version of myself, and I've got this idea that if I create this version of myself, everything's going to be wonderful. Well, with that version of you is going to come that version's problems.
Right. You got a whole new set of problems.
You got a whole new set of problems now, right? Yes, this isn't the same anymore. I've solved this, but now I've got this. It's inevitable, right?
Yes.
Somebody who doesn't have money and suddenly has a lot of money. People who don't have money think, if I had money, all my problems would be solved. Well, all the problems of not having money would be solved, and now you'd have a whole new set of problems for people who have money.
Yes. Or they bring along the same problem that they had. For me, it's funny. I like to give money away, apparently, and so I thought, well, if I have more money, I'll just give more away.
I just give more away of it. Yeah, it works. It works that way. There's no avoiding the downside of conditioning. You cannot make a perfect human being.
Oh,
you can't.
I don't know if you just crush the spirits or lift the spirits of it, but I will ask with this one. Can we, by asking the question, "Who am I?" dissolve all conditioning?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to be able to ask that question correctly.
Oh, okay. There's a correct way to. I'm going to actually write.
Oh my God, yes. There's a preparation for it.
Okay.
If I go, who am I? But the I I'm referring to is the conditioning, is the ego. It will simply be the ego trying to find a better version of itself.
Yes.
That's all it'll be, and that's as far as that inquiry will go. You have to transcend the conditioning. You have to see conditioning as conditioning and get an inkling into yourself as unconditioned being. Nameless, formless. Nothing can define it. Because the moment I say I am this or that, I have confined myself to this or that. Mm-hmm. It's just I am with nothing after it. I am. That's it. The moment I say I am, and then I think that there's more to the sentence, it needs a direct object, I now become that direct object. That's the nature of identification.
Yes. And please know... Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm really shifting, so... no. I hope it's taken lightly. They say, I love the statement that say no is a complete sentence. They're sharing that globally.
Yes.
And I thought I am is a complete sentence, and I just hope that's taken with heart.
That is correct. And
yes.
that's a koan. That I am is a meditation in and of itself. I am without letting the mind put anything after it. What are you in just being? Not I am male, I am female, I'm old, I'm young, I'm Asian, I'm white, I'm black. None of that. Just I am. The pure sense of being. And if you can come to that point, and that's always where I take people in my meditations. No matter what the pretense, that's always where we go. It's always the same meditation. I just give it different names so people think it's different. But I always go.
We
to
know
the
your
same
secrets.
place. Yeah, you know my secret now. But if you get to that place, at this point, the who am I sinks all the way in. Who am I? That is, I am and nothing after. Just the I am. Who is just this sense of being without identifying or attaching or associating it with anything else. No thought, no emotion, no sensation, no experience, no past, no association, no future, nothing. Just the pure sense of being.
Absolutely beautiful. And
That's
with that, I'd like
who
to...
am I?
That is... Everybody, there's no filling in the blanks. You can ask questions. You can ask questions, but there's no filling in the blanks. And we do invite you to ask those questions. It's questions with an S, questions at gpwalsh.com. If you have had an epiphany, if you've had an enlightenment, something you want to share it with us, it doesn't have to be a question. You can email us. We do invite you. We want to hear from you. If you want to get on the guest list, we'd love to. And we'd love for you to show up every Tuesday at 1 p.m. here, Eastern Time, on OMTimes Radio to join us in the flow of enlightenment. Thank you, GP. This was absolutely enlightening. Oh, everybody, have a beautiful week.